Hello again, welcome back to Astro-Land. In today's episode I am working on some key backstage areas to make my park more realistic. So the things I'm working on is a monorail bay, a parking structure, and dressing up the depot's building or delivery building more in a way of being more realistic than just leaving it empty. So this area is located exactly behind Nova Kingdom and the Water World part of the park. So right here I'm trying to build a transfer track for my monorail system. Kind of very basic idea of how to build a transfer track, because I mean, building up a transfer track is kind of like not easy to do, especially in games like this. So I kind of just messing around with monorail pieces or monorail track and kind of setting up and trying to imagine how a piece would detach from itself, or a track would slide over and then complete itself. So here I'm already putting down like an idea of like machinery or something, or these you want to call like track bars that hold the track and then it slides over. While I was building this, I noticed that when I built the monorail track backwards, there is an actual bus bar on the monorail track that's on, looks like the right side of the track, and so I flipped the track around here later because it didn't match the, I don't know, the same direction. Kind of looked funny, so bus bars should match together in the same direction right here. Like I switch it around, turn around, build the track, and then kind of guess where it should sit later. Because the idea is that the transfer track to the monorail base should match up exactly to the same square as the turn. So the turn's coming diagonal, and when it turns around or turns to the right, it should line up with the same square. This is kind of the idea of how I usually do a transfer track. I had a fun time doing this transfer bay area. Kind of was a weird, I don't know, side project to kind of make the park more realistic. The transfer section part kind of was inspired from, I've seen Disneyland's transfer track, Tokyo Disney's transfer track system, because they have a monorail system that goes around both their parks. And it's just kind of, there's not many monorails to kind of pull from besides Disney and maybe Las Vegas. So that's kind of what was the idea of in this general notion of just kind of following that. Not really like, well, I'm making things up as I go too, because first of all, it is a made-up theme park, and I decided to use a monorail as my main transportation instead of, you know, I don't know, like a train or a boat system. I usually don't focus on the realistic stuff, but in this playthrough or this build, the realistic stuff I think is going to come in handy, especially in like the backstage areas. I have some other planned backstage areas too. For, I think there's a backstage area behind Capital City, in between the Iceland and Capital City. I have a name for the ice planet. I forgot what I named it. Argon. No, yes, I named it Argon. Argon Outpost. Oh my gosh, I remembered. I should write that down. Argon Outpost is the Iceland that's also being worked on too, but not in this video. That'll probably be in part 5. Over here I did some basic blue awnings like Disneyland would do, so that just goes over the street or the pathway. I mean, it is just pathway right now, but it's imitating a street, and then the street goes into a tunnel underneath the park, and that's like a utilidor that connects to the other locations of the park. I still need to figure out, because I picked the transfer track in such a weird spot because of it's in the backstage area, I might have to realign how the water planet kind of positions itself. I think I need to hide either this transfer track. I don't want to hide it inside a building. I want to keep it open air so you see it, because it's a detail you would like to see. I'm also keeping in mind, because again with Parkitect's isomorphic view, I don't want to hide things inside buildings necessarily, so I'm going to try to keep it open as possible. Maybe surrounded by rocks or some type of cave system before it, and the monorail goes by it and stuff like that. I mean, I could decorate it. Kind of think I could decorate it into like a temple or something to match the planet. but I'm even at that point. I think the water planet is going to be on my last, last phase, because that part of the park is more very fast. I don't know. It's just the concept I have for that park is going to be a little bit harder to achieve than like the Ice Planet or, for example, Nova Kingdom. I already had Nova Kingdom already kind of in my head, but with the Ice Planet and then the Water Planet, which are kind of the same, one's frozen, one's not, or I might just get rid of the Water Planet and make it something else, like Lava Planet or maybe a Jungle Planet. But I like the idea of water because of like the planet of Camino from Star Wars. So it's all just water, and they would have like floating cities on stilts and things like that. I'm not really sure, because none of this is planned. This is all just kind of going off of what I feel and what I want to do. So jumping forward to actually building the Monorail Bay, I did some pre-planning with coloring the ground, kind of figuring out where each Monorail Bay should be. And I picked 4 bays because I have 4 monorails on the track, on the circuit. And I'm just going to plan out where the monorail track goes. And I did some Google searching and images on some of the, what was it, Disneyland, oh my gosh, think. So, yeah, Disneyland's basically goes into, it does a transfer track at the main circuit, and then a switch into 2 other tracks, and then 1 track gets turned into 3. So there's like two sections of switch bays I have to make. Now, I'm not making switch bays like I did with the first transfer track on the main line. So I had to kind of fudge it and kind of, I don't know, illustrate that the track that you see is turned bends, because some of the track actually in like monorail transfer track, the beam has a pivot. It's not necessarily a slide switch, so it has a pivot on one end, and the other end is on a track, and that can go back and forth or whatever which way you need to go, left or right, and it pivots to that location. So it's actually a very fascinating way to make a switch. It's kind of like a real switch, like for a railroad. Railroad also does switches like that too. Two rail bars on the floor, and they pivot to either left or right, connecting tracks to do a crossover. So monorail track kind of does the same thing. So I'm building one of the pivot points. So I'm just going to make a very, very basic cover or stilt system. Yeah, stilt and some regular ground, and then I add I think a border to simulate a track. I did it here also for the other switch that looks like it turns. So I kind of just give it that idea. It's not really, well, it's not real. It's realistic, but not realistic, because I'm making up my own system. If you can, yeah, I'm making my own system. The bay itself doesn't have anything special. It's just a very plain rectangle box with the monorail bays in it. Fun fact is that the monorail bays that you see here is all one monorail, not like 4 different monorails. So the technique was to build the monorail forward, build a bay, delete a section, back up, build another bay, delete a section, and do that a whole bunch of times. So it's basically, technically speaking, one monorail. So I didn't want to like have that cost. Well, there will be a cost if you were playing this on money or something, which I haven't decided yet. Maybe to see if this park would even run properly with all the scenery set and then the prices set. I want to see if this park would run at full potential because it's fully themed. It might not. So we'll see when I'm done with this park. We'll see if it does anything. Doing a quick disdain of the roof to make it look more realistic. It's been out in a while. Made a very quick monorail bays with cylinders on top to represent rolled up doors, and then an AC unit system on top to ventilate all the monorails coming in at the night, because monorails are running on, I don't know, well, they should be electric. All monorails are electric, I think, right? I'm not sure. I think Disneyland's are electric. I think they're like some volt system. I should look that up. Regardless, skipping on forward to building the Monorail Bay sign. So just like Disneyland did. Disneyland has a giant sign on the side of their building that says Monorail, I think parking or Monorail maintenance. So I kind of did the same thing here with regular cubes, and then I numbered all the bays 1 through 4 with the letters, the new letters we got. I really like the letters and the sign text that we got. It looks really nice that we have that option now to kind of customize things even further. It gives it that realism. I have all these bays. And then quickly on to a Monorail Bay, or Monorail Bay, I call it. A very, very basic sign, nothing, I don't know, crazy. But it kind of matches a very generic theme park, in a way. Adding some lights, figuring that out. Speaking of these staff rooms over here, actually, I think those staff rooms will move. I don't think I like them there. But we'll see. I always change my mind a lot, and I think that's sometimes okay, but sometimes that's also a bad thing for changing your mind so many times. Because then you get stuck in this rut of replacing, removing, replacing, removing. So I'm trying not to change so much or be indecisive. I'm trying to be direct decision and say, okay, that's where I'm going. We should go there and build it and then be done. I mean, also I have this fear of building something that I spent an hour or so on and then not loving it and then deleting it, and I've wasted basically an hour of my time. I'm frustrated sometimes when that happens. So I'm trying not to do that in this build. It's kind of trying to get myself out of my comfort zone by playing a project this large. Because building a project like this versus a custom scenario is different. Custom scenarios are, I build a key area to play in, I build a couple sceneries to play around, and then goals. That's it. This, on the other hand, I'm trying to make a realistic theme park with lands, and those lands have rides in them that are themed to that area and then named. Kind of a challenge to do it. Over here, I wanted a specialized, I don't know, training facility for all the employees. I'm going to slowly get all the employees that I hired. I think I hired 100 something employees for this park. I think. And I'm going to train them all to max level, and then when I get this map finished, I can load the map with all of them trained and see if that actually makes a cool idea of how it would work mechanically, and see if the park actually profits, because I want to see if it does. Because that's the next cool thing, is build a realistic theme park. Does it realistically work? We'll see. I think it'll be a fun experiment. So quickly, just making a very simple cover with 4 training buildings, and then a cover that kind of matches the same color, and it kind of looks nice. It looks like a spaceship. Well, it kind of looks like a spaceship with the windows. But I think it looks cool. I like it. I might do that more in some parks like that, but those training offices are pretty expensive, I think. I don't remember, because I don't use them in campaign play. I've never used them. Over here is the depot that I covered and built over the deliveries building. Not depot, it's delivery building. I put the Astro-Land planet as their icon, so this is their backstage entrance, so employee entrance and deliveries, and just a very simple AC unit on top in square building, and then a sign that says deliveries, so it's nothing crazy. While thinking about backstage stuff, I thought about where my employees are going to park, so I decided to build myself a full-fledged parking structure, which I've never done before. So, I mean, parking structures shouldn't be that hard to build. They're squares, usually, or rectangles. And they have at least up to 7 to 6 levels of car parking, so nothing crazy except for figuring out your spacing, your levels, and also trying to imagine in your head where the ramps are, because I'm not building the ramps for each level. I only build ramps, I think, on the top level to kind of simulate where the cars would go. But the rest of it I'm not going to show you because I don't build it. It's not there, you don't see it. So you kind of have to think, was it It's not outside the box. It's kind of like you're building a model, and the model won't be seen from every angle because this is still an isomorphic view. It's the same thing like with a model train table. So a gentleman is building a model railroad, and he puts lights in his buildings, but those lights are actually just giant light bulbs. And you won't see those light bulbs because you're not inside this little miniature building. Same thing with Parkitect. It's kind of the same idea. You won't see that angle because of the view once you turn on the mod, but I try to compensate on the mod because I know they exist. So I try to build everything, but sometimes time is too much or time consuming, and also adds more data to the map, and that lowers FPS usually because it's more things are built in hidden spaces. So I'm trying not to do that. I try to be as efficient as possible with the scenery to make it not as heavy on computers that are not as strong as mine or something like that. So that's what I usually try. So right here I'm going to build a ramp example where the cars should go back down to the floor level, or the first level, to exit out to go home and stuff like that. So just kind of build it and see if it looks pretty realistic, and then kind of finish from there, because it's a parking structure. Nothing crazy. I might build the second one next to it, just copy it over. I was thinking about making park structures near the front of the park, but I kind of like my parking lot very flat and plain because it's for guests, not for my employees. I have no idea how many spaces this structure can hold. Maybe 120? I didn't count because I didn't build the center either, so I'm just gonna guess. It looks like I can build a lot of parking. Yeah, placing normal cars down. I like that we have a third car to play with, is the Jeep, so I kind of use that as my third car design, and then different colors to make the cars different and unique. And yeah, nothing too much to the backstage area. Yeah. Oh yeah, finishing up fences. That's basically it. So I'm going to give you a quick tour preview of the map in a live preview, and then discuss what I'm going to do next. It's probably going to be the ice planet, so Argon Outpost is the name I have for it. And yeah, I will switch on to the live view. Welcome to the overview of what I worked on today. So, as you can see, I'm just going to show you what I've basically finished: the Monorail Bay deliveries, and then my parking structure. I added some deliveries of pallets and stuff for detail, and then kind of finished up with the stripe section for the cars. I don't know if these are going to stay here. They might move, but I like that there's some brake rooms. Oops. And then let's just do a quick progress update on the park. So Nova Kingdom hasn't changed since then. I haven't built the new coaster yet for it. I'm still deliberating on that. Deliberating. Not sure. Waterworld over here, kind of pre-planned phase. I'm not really sure how I'm gonna pull it off. I don't have a definite style yet for it. I'll think of something, but it's gonna take me a while. Same thing with Argon Outpost. I won't show you the coaster I built for it, but it's a floorless coaster, and I already built some of it, and I think I like it, and I need to decorate it to a form of some type of architecture in Argon Outpost. So it's gonna be like maybe a science facility on a ice planet. But I did some snow work a little bit, and some snow piles and icicles, and then I made a tunnel for the monorail. Same thing with over here. I made a tunnel for this monorail because, well, I don't want you seeing the transfer track. These might have to go higher, and add some more rock work maybe here. We'll see, but I think I like it so far. I like this backstage area. It's my favorite so far. So, well, I'm going to wrap it up here then, and we'll go on to part 5 soon. I'll work on some the ice area, maybe the coaster for Nova Kingdom. And yeah, I will see you guys in the next video. See ya.